It's going to start right away.
Well, good to see you also. Dan, wow.
How are you, Rabbi? Good to see you, sir.
I'm fine, I'm fine. Can you see me good? Oh, good, good, good.
Perfect.
You won't believe it, but I'm doing also to broadcast on the YouTube.
Yeah, you can do it, Rabbi.
Save, go live. It is. Let's see that it's going live. Fine. Excellent. Now we're streaming live twice on Google and on Facebook.
Beautiful.
Now you see me twice. Excellent. Fine. So let me close. We can start. I think so. No, it's a time that you can start. Yes.
1 minute.
So wait 1 minute. People are coming inside. Good evening from Jerusalem. Hope you are all fine. Hans, good to see you also. Israel from India. You know, it's the middle of the night there.
Shalom, Rav.
By Israel, it's already. Angelica, it's only the beginning of Sunday. Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening from Germany. Special Germany. Can we start, Dan? What are you saying?
Sure, yeah, you're up live on both Facebook and YouTube, Rabbi.
I did it.
You did it. You got to share with me what plugin you're using because, yeah,
No,
it's
I
all
can't.
joy.
They won't see my sharing screen. They will see only me on Facebook, but it's okay.
I've got you up on all three.
Fine. I will tell you the secret later on. Oh, good to see you. Good to see you all. Good to see you from Italy, from the United States, from Israel, from India, from Germany, from everywhere in the world. Also from Canada. Sorry, also from Canada. You're doing the best with a nice flag that is, burning there. Tonight we're going to learn a very important principle on the Bible, through the Bible and things that we've learned. Last week you asked a very good question and everybody suddenly noted this question. Therefore we need to learn something for that. And I want to start with a story. Who doesn't want to hear a story? Let's start with a story that I have. It's not so good as like the monkeys last week, but it's also a good one. We have, for example, my parents are here, so they can tell about me that when I was a teenager, I had a very interesting way of life. And from time to time, they were supposed to punish me. Now, there are two ways. Shh, don't say it in front of all of the world. There are two ways how they can punish me. I can tell you that my father once told me that if I will do this and this, he will give me a very big punishment. And I came late with with my friends, and I came late, and he was waiting for me. It was very late at a Saturday night, and he was sitting there on the sofa with a belt and said to me, "Okay, sit down here. Now I want to punish you with a belt." No, he wasn't so cruel. It's just for the story. And there isn't any linkage between that I came late on one side and that he wanted to punish me on the belt on the other side. The linkage is not being, you can't see the linkage. Okay? Now, on the other side, once I wanted, one of my students in one place wanted to jump from the second floor. And I told him, don't jump, don't jump. If you will jump, you might break your leg. So there is a very straight connection between the act that he's going to do, the bad act, that he's going to jump from the second floor, and what he's going to be punished. He's going to break his leg. It's connected one to each other. The broken leg is straight ahead going an outcome of his jumping from the second floor. Now, this is we need to understand, and this is very important, that everything that God is doing is like on the second way of punishment. There is always a linkage between what man is doing, man, woman is doing, and the outcome. The punishment is an outcome. The outcome of what is happening. I don't know why is this the manager nudging me. And for that, I want us to learn for a moment the example that we have from the Mishnah. Mishnah is as we all know, is the oral Bible that we have. And it's already from the time of Moses, but later on also with more things inside. And I want us to learn something from the Mishnah. It's not very short, but it's not very long. And I will ask you, Dan, if you can read it. It will be very nice. So let me share the screen and show the Mishnah. Here it is. And listen good to how the Mishnah is expressing the main thing here. So please, Dan.
Can you hear me clear?
We can hear you fine and clear. I will put it in a marked yellow, those two main sentences. Those are two sentences as a principle, and then we have examples. Please, Dan.
In the measure with which a person meets out to others, they meet out to him. And the second one says, the same is true for good. Do you want me to read between Samson and Absalom?
Exactly. So we're going to read the bad side, okay? The punishment side, the one who is going, throwing himself from second floor and what's happening to his leg. And then we're going to read the good side, okay? The reward. Excellent. He's getting reward from God for good behavior. Please.
Samson went after the desire of his eyes. Therefore, the Philistines put out his eyes, as it is said, and the Philistines laid hold of him and put out his eyes in Judges 16:2. Now, Absalom was proud of his hair. Therefore, he was hanged by his hair, and because he had relations with 10 of his father's concubines. Therefore, they thrust 10 spears in him, as it is said, and 10 of Joab's young arm bearers closed in and struck Absalom until he died in 2 Samuel 18:15. And because he stole 3 hearts, the heart of his father, the heart of the court, and the heart of Israel, as it is said, so Absalom stole the hearts of the people of Israel, 2 Samuel 15:6. Therefore, 3 darts were driven into him, as it is said, and he took 3 darts in his hand and drove them through the heart of Absalom in 2 Samuel 18:1.
So what we see here is when someone is jumping from the second floor, what's happening to him, that he's breaking his leg. It's really related, everything that he did. Samson said to his parents, I want this girl because she is very nice in my eyes. Therefore, the Palestinians took out his eyes. Same thing we see with Absalom. Absalom, the son of King David, did things, and therefore he got punished on the same wrong of the things that he did. Now, God is not only in the punishment doing same, okay, the same outcome of the things that you are doing, but also the same true with good. So let's see a few examples, and I'm bringing this also because it's also related to our parsha, to the parsha that we're going to read next week. Please.
The same is true for good. Miriam waited 1 hour for Moses, as it is said, and his sister stood afar off in Exodus 2:4. Therefore, Israel was delayed for her 7 days in the wilderness, as it is said, and the people did not journey until Miriam was brought in again in Numbers 12:15. Joseph had the merit of burying his father, and there was none among his brothers greater than he, as it is said, and Joseph went up to bury his father, and there both chariots and horsemen went up with him, in Exodus 50, verse 7 and 9. Whom do we have who is greater than Joseph, since none other than Moses occupied himself with his burial? Moses had the merit to bury the bones of Joseph, and there was none in Israel greater than he, as it is said, and Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, Exodus 13:19. Whom do we have greater than Moses, since none other than the omnipresent was occupied with his burial, as it is said, and he buried him in the valley, Deuteronomy 34:6. Not only concerning Moses did they say this, but concerning all the righteous, as it is said, and your righteousness shall go before you, the presence of God shall gather you in death, Isaiah 58:8.
Now, what we see here, again, we see two stories. One with Miriam, who stayed only for 1 hour for Moses. Okay, she stood aside and looked what's happening with Moses that was in the ark. Therefore, now we see that in the good side, getting even greater than what we did, but on the same realm. Not only 1 hour, okay, like Miriam stayed, but we delayed for 7 days. All of Israel, 7 days. Okay, so it's much greater, but it's the same realm, it's the same and the same understanding, the same results. And the same with Joseph. We can see Joseph. This is our next parsha, this parsha that will come. Joseph buried his father. Therefore, Moses will bury him. Therefore, God will bury him. So we're going up one level each time. And from one thing, the better side, the good side, always the reward side, the prize is much greater than the punishment. The punishment is the same, and the prize is much more. After we learn that, this is a very important principle, how God is working in our world. It's not just by, I will say it like that. People misunderstand, I will call it like that, sometimes by thinking that God is something that working without any thoughts, just sitting there, up there in heaven, with a very long beard and saying to himself, this I will punish, this I won't punish, this I will do here, this I will do that. It's not working like that. With what we are doing in our actions, we are bringing upon ourselves what we are organizing for ourselves. I will say it like that, okay? When we are jumping from the second floor, we will break our legs, God forbid it. So if we are doing bad things, the consequences of the things that we are doing will come to us. This is how God is working. This is exactly how He's working. Now that we understand this principle, we have a very big question on the things that we've learned last week. Let's share the screen again and see the question that we had, and people asked us already last week. Here it is. The question that we had from last week. And what we saw last week, that it's written down in verse number 18. Please read verse number 18.
And the sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Ham was the father of Canaan.
We asked ourselves, why are we mentioning that Ham was the father of Canaan? And then we see that they didn't respect Noah, and they saw him naked, everything else. And it's written down that, please read verse number 22, 23, 24, and 25. From 22.
22. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father's nakedness, and he told his two brothers outside. And Shem and Japheth took the garment, and they placed it on both of their shoulders, and they walked backwards, and they covered their father's nakedness, and their faces were turned backwards, so they did not see their father's nakedness. And Noah awoke from his wine, and he knew what his small son had done to him. And he said, Cursed be Canaan, he shall be a slave among slaves to his brethren.
Okay, now we all asked, how come we see something here that Ham is doing, and Canaan is getting punished. It is not on the way that God is working in this world. Remember this question? Everybody asked it, or some people asked it already, and we said that we're going to relate because it's a very heavy explanation, not explanation. There's a very heavy situation here. It's something that we are not used to see in front of us. And now I want to give few answers that we have from our sages, and we need to realize how it's working here, because we cannot accept that someone is doing something bad and someone else is getting punished. It's not working like that in the Hebrew tradition. So we will say few principal answers, okay? And all of the answers will say to us in some way or another that Canaan did something bad, but it's not written down here. We cannot accept that Canaan is getting punished for something that Ham is doing. It can't be. So we must say that something here is missing and it's not written down. Everybody knows it or knew it in the time that it was written down, and we lost it. So we need to understand what exactly happened here. And in all sorts of ways, we will explain this. But we need to realize that the principle that someone is doing something bad, and therefore he is getting punished for what he did, will stay. It must stay. It can't be that someone did something bad and another one else will get punished for him. Okay? We need to realize or to understand what's happening. The first explanation that I'm going to say is being brought by someone that sages that is called Abarbanel. It's written down, or it's already, the Abarbanel was living 500 years ago. He was a very high rank person in the Spain, in Spain. Okay, he was I think the ministry of all of the, how do you call it, the money, all of the treasurer, okay, of the king. And he was very, very smart person. And he's relaying on other things that our sages said before that. And he's explaining like that. He says that we need to realize how come in verse number 18, we're saying that Ham was the father of Canaan. Why are we mentioning it? We will see in the next chapter who exactly were the kids of Ham, who was the kids of Shem, and who was the kids of Japheth. Why do we need to say here that Ham was a father of Canaan? And he's explaining like that. He's saying that Canaan was the youngest. He was the youngest of Ham, and therefore, always, whenever Ham went, Canaan went with him. He was, some sort of a young baby with him. Not baby because he was already big, but he was always with him. And this is what the Bible is already hinting here, that Canaan went with him everywhere. And then, and Ham, what we see in verse number 22, and Ham, okay, the father of Canaan, saw his father die naked, and he told his two brothers outside. The Torah here is hitting two stories, two different stories. One story is that Ham saw his father naked, and we explained last week that the meaning of this, that he didn't cover him, it was because he wanted him to, that his brothers won't admire him too much, that they will say to him that, okay, he can stay naked. It's not something that we need to admire or to respect too much. So he was only in a positive way. He wasn't doing anything. He wasn't doing anything positive. He was only a passive in a passive situation. He saw that he is naked, and he went and he said to brothers. But Ham did something else there, and he stopped his grandfather Noach from becoming the possibility of bringing another kid to this world. Okay, we saw and we last time showed that this story is very similar to the story that Adam and Eve when they were kicked out from Eden. And let's remember that when Adam and Eve went out from Eden, the first thing or one thing that they did after that, not the first thing, but one of the things that they did after that, they brought life to another kid. They brought Seth to this world. And Noah also wanted to bring another one, the fourth one. And Ham didn't do anything actively against his father. But Canaan, and it's not written down here, did something actively. And he, in active way, brought his grandfather that he won't be able to bring more kids. This is what's written down in verse number 24. Noah woke up from his wine and he knew what his small son, while he's hinting here to the grandson, had done to him. And this is why he is cursing him, because his son that only didn't cover him, it's not doing anything in an active way. He was passive. But his smallest one, Canaan, he was already, doing something active against Noah. Therefore, he got punished. Now, it's not written down. I know that it's not written down. This is the oral explanation that we have. So let's see Rashi for a moment, because Rashi will say those words. Here it is. Just a moment. Yes.
Rashi says, and Ham, the father of Canaan, saw, from Genesis Rabbah 36:7. Some of our sages say Canaan saw and told his father. Therefore, he was mentioned regarding the matter, and he was cursed, saw his father's nakedness. Some say that he castrated him, and some say that he sodomized him, from Sanhedrin 78.
But again, who are we saying that did it? Who are we saying that did it? We're saying that Canaan did it. Now, let's see another, I will say, circumstances, what's happening and why that he is getting cursed. Please read verse number 25 with Rashi.
25, and he said, cursed be Canaan, he shall be a slave among slaves to his brethren. Rashi says, cursed be Canaan, you have caused me to be incapable of begetting another fourth son. From Genesis Rabbah. Manuscripts and early editions read a fourth son to serve me. Cursed be your fourth son, that he should minister to the children of these older ones, Shem and Japheth, upon whom the burden of serving me has been placed from now on. Genesis Rabbah 36:7. Now, what did Ham see? What reason did he have that he castrated him? He said to his brothers, the first man, Adam, had two sons, and one killed the other so as to inherit the world. And our father has three sons, and he still desires a fourth son. From Genesis Rabbah 5:22-7. Ooh, that raises a point.
Okay, so we see here, in some sort of a way, our sages are saying that there is something here that Canaan did. We must say that something here that Canaan did. And we have also the rationale of what happened to you, why he did it. He did it because he was afraid that for the fourth son that will come here, as we saw that when Adam and Eve went out from Eden, they brought another kid to this world, a new one, a newborn. The same thing is happening here. Noah and his wife are going out from the ark and they want to bring the fourth kid to this world. But as we saw in Adam and Eve, that only two brought such big andalusia in this world, such a big problem in this world, and one killed each other, we can't have the fourth one. Now, if we are losing the fourth one, that can also help and be servant for Noah, who are supposed to take more responsibility, the first and the second one. Therefore, he cursed the fourth one that he will be the servant of him. So if they need now to give more emphasis and to serve more Noach, he is getting cursed, the fourth one that did this problem, to be the servant for them. So they will have also the joy because they also gave more servants to their parents, to Noach. So we see all the time how things are getting connected one to each other. They are not being out of reach without any reason with what's happening. Now it's very complicated from one side. On the other side, it's not written down in the Bible very clear and loud. And we need the sages that will say to us what is hiding here in behind the scenes that is a bit, when you read it, you see that there are hints that something here is behind the scenes. As we said before, okay? We saw two hints for that. First of all, we saw that it's written down and Ham was the father of Canaan. So it's really already hinting us that something here is really coming with Canaan. And the second thing that we see is that it's written down that he knew what his small son had done to him. Canaan is the small son of Ham, that is the smallest one, according to part of the sages. So he's speaking about the smallest of the smallest one who did to him this thing, and this is why he is getting cursed. And this way, this explanation of the sages, we are not breaking the rule that we've learned, that each one is basically organizing to himself what exactly will happen to him according to his behavior. And it's not related to behavior of others. This is what we say, on the same way that you are organizing for yourself, you're getting also backwards after that. Till now, questions. If anyone have any questions or anything that you want to mention, to ask, something wasn't clear enough. I don't know. Maybe you have can you have a question on the chat? I don't know.
Rabbi, I was just checking the end of chapter 9 there, where it says, where does it say? It says at the end where it says, may God expand Japheth and may he dwell in the tents of Shem. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, in a moment.
I'm getting ahead of you. Okay, sorry.
This is the next word that we're going to explain, but first, if someone have any questions about things that I explained till now. Okay, fine. It's okay that you don't have. It's okay that I was clear enough.
No, I find it profound that you mentioned that Abraham or Noah had no more children. There's no more lineage other than Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and the lineage after that. I found that really amazing. Yeah, there's lots that can be said on that.
The main point that I can say from that, first of all, you're right. We need to understand that it's also related, very similarity to what Adam also had. We all the time comparing. We said it already last week, that the stories in the Bible a lot of times are returning upon themselves with trying to be better than the first one. So Adam and Eve had three sons. They had Cain, they had Abel, and they had Seth. Now, we know that Abel in Hebrew, we said it's related to Japheth. Japheth and Abel in Hebrew is Hevel and Yefet. And we have another verse in Proverbs that it says, Sheker hachen vehevel hayofi. Hevel and Yofi are going together. And we know that Ham was cursed and also Cain was cursed. Okay, Cain. Cain was cursed after he killed Abel. So both of them also are the cursed side. And we have Shet and Shet, those are two names under the same thing. What we have here is two sons, okay, Shet and Seth, that are dealing with the spiritual side. We have Cain and Ham, who are dealing with the materialistic side of the world. And we have Japheth and Abel. Abel, we lost it very fast, but we have Abel and Japheth, and this is what's written down here. And may God explain Japheth and may he dwell in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be a slave to them. So this is what we said, the Canaan, or the side of Ham, the side of the material side of the world, is supposed to be the slave, it's supposed to be the part that is helping the spiritual side. The spiritual side is the same, and this is the tents of Shem. And we will learn about this. It's already the Beit Midrash of Shem and Ever, who are much, much earlier to the becoming the Hebrew nation in this world. Okay, we have already Shem and Ever. Those are two great giants prophecies who are in this world before the Hebrew nation came, and they already have what we call Bet Midrash, what we call the place where they are teaching people how we need to have the right relationship with God and the right relationship with one with each other, man with his fellow men. And they have the tents of Shem, and we have Japheth, that is the side of the beauty, the side of the glory. How exactly is the best way with the emotions and the beauty in this world? So what it says here, that this beauty or these emotions that we have, it's supposed to be related to the tents of Shem, the spiritual side. And the side of the, not spirituality, the side of the of this world, the materialistical world, is supposed to be only the slave side. There's something that is helping us. I will give an example. I have here a camera inside this facilities that we have in the computer. And this camera that I have and you all have is only a material side. You can use it for good, you can use it for bad, God forbid it. Yes. Now the question is how exactly to use it. It's supposed to be the slave for the spiritual side. It's not supposed to be the main side of a lot of bad things in this world. So this is the right proportion of everything here. The side of the emotions and the side of the beauty is supposed to be connected to the tents of Shem. That is the relationship, the right relationship between one with each other and one with God. And the side of the material side of this world is supposed to be the slavery and the assistance, how to bring the world to a better world. This is the verse number 27. That was clear enough?
May I ask about 27 while we're here?
Yes, of course.
Okay, if we go back to 27, it says that Japheth is going to receive the blessing to grow and to live in the house of Shem, in the tents of Shem. Now, there are religions out there, a couple of them that I've studied, that actually follow the lineage of Japheth, and they follow a different path. And some seem to be more righteous than others. They're still part of the world, but would those people following the path of Japheth hold a special place in the tents of Shem?
I don't know exactly to what are you referring.
The Mormon community actually follow the lineage of Japheth from the beginning, from the separation, from the flood, and they base their theology on the descendants of Japheth, which is a different path.
But when you say,
and I know you're not allowed to study those, and if you can't answer it, that's more than fine.
No.
Rabbi,
I have a different question. I know a bit, not too much about the Mormons, and we are allowed, by the way, we are allowed to study those things, so we will be able to explain and to see exactly what's happening. Okay? There are things that we are allowed to study. The only question is, I think we spoke about this already in the tree of knowledge and tree of life. The question is exactly what is our relationship with the things that we are learning, okay? How exactly we are referring to those things. But what I want to say is not to whom exactly they are referring, but more to the principle that we are speaking about. Japheth, in Hebrew, the understanding of Japheth is beauty. Okay. Now, when I'm asking you, what exactly is beauty? Beauty is related to the emotions. It's related to the harmony that we feel in our eyes when we're looking at things. Okay. Go, for example, to the old Greeks when they started to reorganize how to organize statues of people. Okay, with the 2/3 of the face and everything else. There is a very deep, profound thoughts and teaching how exactly to reorganize all the statues. That it will be in a nice to our eyes. It will be very clear. Okay, and it's the same with the building up buildings. So, or the colors. When I'm putting one color to another color, you know. When we were young, people said green and blue never do, but today the people speaking differently. So when we're speaking about this side of the world, this is the word Japhet in Hebrew. Okay. Now this is a very special and unique wisdom that we have in our world. Now I'm asking you, this wisdom, is it the wisdom that is teaching us how to get relationship with God or relationship with our fellow men? No, it's a wisdom that is related with my emotions and how I see the world and how my friends are seeing the world. Okay, I'm speaking about this side. The moments that you spoke about, maybe they are related to Japhet. I'm not saying that, but they're not. When they're speaking about the relationship with God, they are not connected to the side of Japhet on this side of the world. They are still related to things that are related to the Christian world and how it's, you know, in a different way. So this is not, it's not related to what I'm speaking about Japhet. I'm speaking about the situation of the beauty and the emotions in this world. And this is what God is saying here. The emotions, the side of the emotions, all of this learning of what's happening with the emotions and beauty and the harmony that we have in our world. This is a side of learning that's supposed to be related inside the tents of Shem. But it's not in a lower level like the side of all of the materialistical side of the world. The materialistical side of the world is a lower level than the emotions. This is how I understand this, or this is how we explain this verse. So the moments, they are part of they went out from the Christian world. They tried to go something from the tents of Shem, but in a very wrong way. Okay, but okay, fine.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's what that cleared it up. I just didn't want to think more of the Japheth side than they actually deserve out there. Yeah, thank you much.
Fine. Michael, good to see you. People can, Michael, say hello to everybody with this with your hand, Michael. Michael also. Michaela? How do you call it? Michael. No, it's also for Michael. We have Michaela from Italy, but we have also Michael is from Italy, right?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, fine. Good to see you. Okay, more questions about things that we spoke. We spoke about two main things. One is that there's always relation between the actions that we are doing and what's happening to us in this world. And the second thing that we spoke about is the relationship that we have between the spiritual side of the world, the emotions side of the world, and the and all of the facilities that we have in this world. Those are two main points that we spoke. Questions about those things? If not, we'll continue on to the next issue.
Well, Rabbi, you know I always have difficulty with the reason behind why the spiritually minded have such aversion to the tangible, the measurable, the factual, archaeological, earth and things that we stand on. And what you're saying does ring true, and it helps me to understand a lot. But I believe there's harmony past a point where things don't have to be denied, where the real tangible evidence actually harmonizes so well that there's no need to be at odds. And I find more and more, I do find I butt heads sometimes needlessly, and it's not needlessly, but there's quite an aversion from those that think with a spiritual mind, or what you're calling emotional. There's an aversion to the measurable. And I get what you're saying about the reason to bring that to light, the reason to bring the purpose and the things behind the scenes to light. But I think there's much more there that is in harmony. And I know that a lot of people don't want to see it. They just don't want to see it because it doesn't fit where they're at right now.
Yes, we are not. First of all, you're right. And I think that as more that we will continue on progressing inside the history and more learning, we will see that there is more and more harmony between the things. But again, we need also to remember that there are also, we call this some steps, or there is what is behind, what is above, what is there underneath. We can't have all, we can't put everything on the same level. And those are two things that we need to remember. Now I'm going to explain this a bit. It's a bit more profound, but I want to give an example, okay? We know that there are two different kinds of human in our world. There's the kind of the women side, and there's the kind of the men side. They are not the same. Those are two different kinds of people who are walking on this world. This is on the level when we are looking from one side, from underneath, from bottom up, okay? Because when we are going up another level, we're saying that there is a humankind, and the humankind is men and women together. Now, so when we're looking from up downwards, we see that there is only one kind, the humankind. They are together, okay? When we are looking from bottom up, we see that they are separated, okay? The man is not a woman, and woman is not a man. We also explained more than once that the woman wasn't kicked out from Eden, and we just can't live here without them. Therefore, they did us a very big favor, and they came out here also to be with us. But on the same level, by the way, we can speak about, and it's really, when you think about this along history, you ask yourself why God did this in this way. From one side, if you look at this, there's the Hebrew people on one side, and the rest of the world on the other side. And along history, you saw that, okay? That those are two different identities. But if you're looking one step above, you see that all humankind are together, and every person who is not a Jewish person can become a Noachite and be part of the Jewish nation, or even if you will go one step above that, he can also do a what do you call it, conversion, and to become also a Jewish person. So it's not so different. So on the above level, they're all together. What I'm trying to say that from one side, when we're looking on this world, there are some sort of stages. Someone is above, someone is underneath. There are separations and everything else. There is also the level that we see that everything is unity. As more that we're going up and up and up on the levels, we're managing to understand how everything is being united. This is what we're saying. Everything is getting life from the one God. So there is one source of everything, for everything that is alive here in this world. But when you're going downwards, you see that there's also separations, and there are also some levels. We can't ignore that. This is how this world is working. So as more and more that we are learning, we are managing to understand how much everything is coming to the reunite part that is related everything with God, and everything is one.
Wow. Well said, Rabbi. Thank you.
Okay. Let's have some sort of I will call it a personal problem that he didn't manage to come tonight with his young born baby, and we are blessing him with that he will be next week. But let's learn something from the. We must continue.
Brit Shalom.
To the Brit Shalom. Yes, exactly. So let's share the screen back to the Brit Shalom now, and yes, if I remember correctly, we finished the first. We finished another chapter with Lee, right? And we came to this chapter now, the knowledge of God. We're studying the 7 laws, right? I'm right?
Yes.
I remember correctly? Excellent. Now, I want to mention very important points that we must understand. And this is that Rabbi Sherki here did a marvelous and amazing, I think, work by turning opposite around every one of the 7 laws. We're going now inside to the 7 laws of the Noahide World Center, of the Noahide, it's not, Noahide World Center is only an organization, of the Noahide laws, and the 7 laws were always being defined as something that we are not allowed to do, okay? There's the laws of idolatry. The laws of idolatry is that we are not allowed to
Partake.
to do something to not to the right God, but it's not saying to us what we need to do. And Rabbi Sherki took all of the 7 and he just flipped them in the other side and brought not only the verses in the Bible, what we are supposed to do, but also explained clearly and showed it also from our sources. What is it that we are supposed to do in an active way? And this is also helping us to get closer to God. This is part of the genius of Rabbi Sherki, what he did here. And we are going to go inside to this. And I want to show this for a moment with a very, very big sage, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, that already passed away something like 30 years ago. And his name is, I'll show it here. It's and please read. His name is Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, one of the biggest rabbis that we had that gave us a lot of things that we're supposed to do. He, by the way, disagree and says that the Noahide are supposed only to do, not to do positive things, but only to do, stop of doing bad things. And again, I'm saying Rabbi Sherki, and we have also other great rabbis that we are following them. But please, Dan, read this part. This, I hope that it's.
Yeah. Even though belief in God is not mentioned in the list of the 7 mitzvot, there is no doubt that belief is required. After all, if one does not observe the 7 mitzvot specifically because God commanded them in the Torah, the Rambam explicitly writes at the end of chapter 8 that he or she is not considered to have observed them and is not considered a righteous person among the Gentiles. It is thus clear that a Gentile must believe in God and believe that God gave the Torah. The person must therefore ask for a livelihood and good health and so on exclusively from God. I love it.
So Rabbi Moshe Feinstein is saying that I do believe, this is what he's saying, that Noahide is not supposed to do anything actively to show that he believes in God, except for one thing. And the one thing is to pray to God. And he's explaining this like that. It's not written down here, but this is the explanation of what's written down here. It's written down in Hebrew in this specific place. He's saying like that. When someone, for example, God forbidden, someone is ill in his family, or God forbidden, he is looking for wealth, and he wants that that he will have a job, that he will have money to live. Now, if he is praying to God, he is accepting that God is the Almighty who can give him all those things. So this is the only thing that he is allowed to do. This is what Rabbi Moshe Feinstein is saying. Now, we are not saying that. We are saying that there are a lot more things that you can do. And we have our sages that are saying that. And for the beginning of that, the laws of idolatry is not only not doing things, but it's also come and do actions. And how exactly you're doing the actions? First of all, you can pray to God. So this is one of the things that we are saying, and we have also the Brit Olam Sidur that we organize, and people are praying it all over the world. So this is one thing. But when you look at the verses that Rabbi Sherki brought here, okay, I am the Lord your God. It's amazing. It says, if you will continue on in Exodus 22, I am the Lord your God who took you out from Egypt. But when you're reading the Rambam, so if I'm asking you, if I'm looking at this verse, let's see it for a moment, okay? You can see my...
Yes.
Look, it's an amazing situation what the Rambam did here, okay? Let's go to Exodus 20 and see the exact verse. And I will ask you, okay? Please read verse number 2.
I am the Lord your God who took you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
Well, if I'm asking you, to whom exactly this verse is speaking? To the world or to the Hebrew nation?
Hebrew nation.
Only to the Hebrew nation.
Hebrew nation.
He took only the Hebrew nation out of Egypt. And now the Rambam, the Maimonides, is taking this verse and saying to us in the beginning of the Maimonides that we all need to learn who is God. This is what he's saying. We all need to learn. He's not saying the Hebrew people. And he's saying, do you know where I'm learning it from? Because it says, I am the Lord, your God. What the Rambam, the Maimonides didn't know that the end of this verse is speaking only for the Hebrew people. He knew that.
Yeah,
But he said, no, we need to understand what exactly the verse is saying. The verse is saying from one side that the Hebrew nation have some sort of a special obligation with God because he took us out from Egypt. But all of the humanity, Hebrew people, not Hebrew people, supposed to learn actively, not only in a passive way, also actively, that God, okay, the Lord is God. He created this world. And this is why Rabbi Sharkey brought this verse, but only in part of the verse, okay? Because the first part of the verse, how the Maimonides understood it, is an active thing that we need to learn, to do. We need to learn who is the Lord, our God. We need to learn it. It's not only not to learn to do idolatry. Okay, I'm not doing anything bad. Also to do something active, try to learn, okay? And then we continue on. Let's go to the Deuteronomy 6:4. Okay, let's go and see exactly this verse. It's the same tricky thing that happened here. Okay, and again, the Rabbi Sharkey here is quoting the Rambam, the Maimonides. He is not doing it by himself. So let's read for a moment. Verse number
4.
4.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God. The Lord is one.
To whom is this verse speaking? To the world, only to the Israel people?
Israel.
Okay. It says, oh, Israel, okay? But the Maimonides, again, in the first 2 chapters of his big book, when he's speaking that we need to remember that God is one, he is quoting only this part. He's saying the Lord is God, is our God, the Lord is one. But the Maimonides didn't knew the full verse. He knew the full verse. But this is exactly the situation. There is a unique connection between the Hebrew nation who believe that God is one, but it's also something that is being obligated to all of the people of the world. It's not only to know how exactly I'm coming to understand that there isn't any idolatry in this world, is by understanding that the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. This is why we're bringing those 2 verses and we're starting to understand that the laws of idolatry is not only not to do idolatry. The laws of idolatry is also to start to knowledge God. What is knowledging God? Knowledging God is everything. Is learning what exactly is God. Is learning also how he created this world, how he is perfecting in this world, how he's performing himself in this world, okay? To understand what is happening here, to learn his words in the Bible, to learn his words in the physical world, what is happening, let's start to learn who is God and how he is one. When we are learning those things, we are starting to understand who is God and how he is behaving in this world. And we're learning how to behave also in this world. Okay? And this is also the other two verses that he's bringing here. See now that I am he, and no other God matches me. Okay? Again, something that is being in a verse in the Deuteronomy. And Exodus also, you should have no other gods besides me. You saw that I spoke with you in heaven, but you should have no other gods besides me. So the idolatry, until now, until the people of Israel came back to their homeland, the idolatry was only don't do idolatry with other gods. But now that we came back to the Hebrew land, we're starting to know or to knowledge that it's not only laws of not doing bad things, not doing idolatry. We are starting to have the knowledge of God and how he is behaving in this world. It's much easier today because we see that he performed himself along history through the Hebrew nation. Now, he said 2,000 years ago that the Hebrew people will come back and they returned back to the homeland. We see a lot of things that is happening today. So here we explain a bit why are those the verses that we brought here and why we brought them, half verses, but because it's speaking for all of mankind. Now, please read verse halacha number 1. Okay, please, Dan.
Number 1, belief in the existence and oneness of God is an inheritance of the nation of Israel. The power of this belief has obligated all members of the nation of Israel to announce to the whole world not to worship other gods.
Look on the responsibility, okay, that the obligation of the Israel nation. We have a very big responsibility. I want to show this, okay, for a moment, and now we will start to understand the second verse that we brought here. So please, let's read here Rashi. Let's read the commentator Rashi. Oh, show it. Fine. Please read Rashi for here.
The Lord is our God, the Lord is one. The Lord, who is now our God and not the God of the other nations, he will be declared in the future the one God, as it is said, for then I will convert the peoples to a pure language that all of them call in the name of the Lord, from Zephaniah 3:9. And it is also said, on that day will the Lord be one and his name be one, from Zechariah 14:9.
So if we will see here, now we're starting to understand what is the beginning of this verse. The beginning of this verse is saying to the Hebrew nation, you have responsibility to bring the whole world to a situation where they all understand that there is only one God. So this is some sort, I will say, of a plan, okay, of the history and the responsibility of the Hebrew nation. So it's not speaking only to the Hebrew people, also according to Rashi, it's speaking to all of the world. But it says to the Hebrew people that we have the obligation of bringing the whole world to this situation, of learning that God is one. Okay, it's interesting way how to read this verse. And this is what's written down here in the halacha number 1. Please read halacha number 2.
The purpose of life is to know God. Included in this knowledge are fear of God and love of God. Love of God includes, among other things, any activity or guidance that brings faith into people's hearts.
Again, look how we are trying to explain differently. I will say, we're trying to emphasize. I won't say differently than others. I will say to emphasize that it's not only a non-doing things. To fear of God is to be very afraid, closed, and I don't want to do any mistakes. This is the fear side. But we have also the love side. Now, when you love someone, you're doing everything that he will be satisfied, that he will be in a good shape, that you're doing things. You're preparing tea to your spouse, and you're bringing him some present when you have a anniversary, or a birthday or something, you're doing action. And this is what the issue of acknowledging God. It's not only the fear of God, but it's also the love of God. And the love of God is doing good actions, good activity, and good things to have more relationship and connection with God. We are not speaking only about restoring yourself from doing actions. We want to get closer with God. And this is how it's written down here in this halacha. Please read halacha number 3.
Whoever loves God does so through knowledge of him, and so the greater the understanding, the greater the love. It is therefore fitting for a person to acquire as much wisdom as possible. Wow.
I don't think I need to say any more words about it. No, because people really don't understand sometimes. I think we spoke about this when we have taught the Kuzari book. Okay? We have the Kuzari and else. When you spoke about the Kuzari, it's very, very important that people will know and knowledge more and more and more about history, about science, about the Bible, the Torah, about everything that they can. Learn more, understand more, have more wisdom, because this is the way that God is working in this world. This is the way that we have the connection with him. More knowledge and more wisdom, we understand more. The only thing that we need also to remember all the time is the preparation and the right attitude, like we spoke in the tree of knowledge or tree of life. Okay, the attitude is supposed to be the relationship with God. And when we have the right attitude, more and more wisdom that we have, more and more that we are loving God, and more that we are related with God. This is the most important point that we need to understand. When you ask questions and people will answer you, if you're asking too many questions, therefore you don't believe enough. So people don't understand what they're saying. Because as more that you're asking questions, as more as you're learning, it might be that you have a certain time of confusion. So you're learning more and we're starting to understand. Sometimes you don't have answers for 20 years, never mind. So you have questions for 20 years, but it doesn't say that you don't love God or you don't understand God or you don't want to have connection with God. So you have questions. So I had questions. I know I spoke with Rabbi Shirky last year about something that I had a question for 20 years. 20 years I had a question. So what? So I had a question, but after 20 years I solved it. And there are things that are running in my head for 20 years. It's happening. And there might be that there will be questions that only when I will be at heaven, maybe I will have the answers. In the Hebrew Babylon Talmud, we have sometimes that there are questions that are staying without answers. And then it says the word teko. Teko is that we are waiting. It's few words together, that we are waiting that Eliyahu Hanavi, okay, the prophet Eliyahu, will come and solve the problem. Until today, we have in the Babylon Talmud a lot of questions that we were never solved. So we can live with questions. It's okay. In the Hebrew wording, the word question, the word is me, mem yud, me. Who, okay? But this is only the beginning of the word, or the end, sorry, of the word Elohim. Mi ele, who is those? This is the word Elohim. So sometimes staying with a question is part of the relationship that you will have connection with God. Something to think about. Unfortunately, in another 10 minutes, I need to go. So we will stop here. And then we have now time that people will have questions, will ask questions, will say things. It's your time to speak. Yes. Not everybody together, one by one. Yes.
Well, it's me. I'm raising my hand.
Yes.
Okay, let's go back to the Shema in Deuteronomy 6:4 with commentary. I have a little question there about languages. It states that in this time there will be one language and one name. So when before the destruction of the Tower of Nimrod, there was one language and one nation and one name. And so he gave 70 different languages. Did in each of those languages, did his name, the Tetragrammaton, get converted into 70 different names for the same God? And is this something that we need to be looking at, or is it something that we need to bring the Tetragrammaton, the name, to the people so that they know? Because right now there's so many different names out there, and that's just my question about the 70 languages and the name.
So I remember the questions that you have about the names. The only thing I want to remind us all for a moment, and we won't go inside to this thing too much for now. In a moment, Lara, I will give you a place to answer, to ask the question. I want to remind you all, verse number 19, that is written down much before the story of the Babylon diaspora. Please read verse number 19, Dan.
These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the entire earth spread out.
Much before chapter 11, where we have the Babylon story. So we will speak about this. Soon we're going to be there, okay? Obviously, it's much more complicated. Yes, Lara, you wanted to ask also something. Yes.
I wanted to make a comment. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I think Travis's question, the answer of it may not relate to what we call God in a given particular language, but goes back to Moses, when Moses asks God, what will I tell the people of your name? And he said, I will be what I will be. So I think that's what maybe it's referring to, God's name, because some people call it Jesus, some people call it Buddha, some people call it, I don't know, Hare Krishna. So in that, when that day comes, it's going to be one name, meaning everybody is going to understand who God is and what's the name of it. That was my understanding.
No, first of all, you're more than right. It's not only the question of how exactly we're calling it, and this is a very big, I will say, it's a very big issue. We need to deal with this.
It's not simple, yeah.
For a few minutes at the end of the lesson. Sorry. Okay. But you're right. You're raising up a very important issue, and we will deal with this issue. Be aware we are going to deal with this issue. Yes. Okay. Anything else that people want to mention? Okay. Yes. How exactly do we need to call you, please? Can open your mic. Open your mic.
Yes.
Can you
hear me?
Can we can hear you? Yes.
Machi, my name is the Hebrew name is Matityahu. It derives from Matityahu. Anyways, I have a question. Well, hi everybody.
Where are you from?
Poland. Pauline. I have a question about Shema, the prayer that we say Shema Israel and Kavanah that we have. When we say Shema Israel, do we relate ourselves to the nation of Israel when we say it, or do we? I mean, how exactly are we supposed to have the Kavanah about it? Because are we the part of, spiritually, part of Israel, or are we just saying to Am Israel for them to listen? I don't know if you know what I mean.
It's a very good question. Again, I can call you in Hebrew Matityahu. Again, your name in Poland. What is your name in Poland?
Machi.
Machi. Okay. It's a very good thing. I want to say that those who became Noahide, okay, if it's by self-declaration or even if it's one step ahead, also by declaring in front of the three rabbis, are becoming also part of the Israel community, large community, we'll say it like that, okay? And therefore they can say that they are also part of this mission of Israel to bring the Almighty God, one God, to all of the nations. Therefore, they're not speaking only to the Israel nation, they're also speaking to themselves. And it's written down in in Ishaya already, that those people who are connected with the Hebrew nation, like the Noachites, are part of the community of God. They're also part of it. So when you're saying Shema Israel, basically you're saying also to yourself, even though you're not part of the Israel community, but you are part of the Hebrew community, okay? The Hebrew Israel community, the large community. Therefore, feel comfortable as a Noachite to say it also to yourself and take responsibility. I explained yesterday, one of the things that we spoke about when we spoke before Shabbat, one of the things that I said is that things that we are acting today, another 100 years, people will learn and will say, wow, they already saw how we are part of the prophecies in this world. And this is part of what we are doing today.
Thank you.
Okay, fine. I'm sorry, today it's a bit short than usual. And hopefully, I hope to see you all next week. We in Israel, as we said last week, we started the vaccine from one side, and we have also, we are all closed back in our homes in the other side. And hopefully another 3-4 weeks, we will go out of everything. And God bless you all. Have a great week. See you.
Bless you, Rabbi.
Bye,
Always
everyone.
good.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
So,
Bye, Don. Bye,
Thank you.
Anna.
Shalom.
Bye, Travis.